Good morning, everyone. Happy Monday.
Heck yeah.
Stress ball, stress-free.
Discover
Lisa,
more.
Dillon. Yeah, explain. What do you got there? Because I thought you were just playing ball, but this is something.
This is stress ball. I don't know. Culture came out last week. It's like our
WDAY culture. It's just like a
it's
group
our fun
of us.
committee.
It's
our fun committee. That's what it
an
is.
easy way to. Okay.
They give us stress balls. I've been throwing it around all morning.
We needed that last week when there was a blizzard.
Yeah.
Not stressful right now. Although potentially, we're going to talk about the potential flood here in a second. We'll get to the forecast and talk a little bit about what Dillon was breaking down for us on First News this morning. But I want to remind you, of course, we're live on Facebook every weekday morning between 8 and 9. You can watch it anytime on your feed after that. We make it into a podcast, so just go to InForum.com/podcast and look for the InForum Minute. Or you can also find us on our InForum YouTube channel. We're everywhere. On this Monday, as I was walking back into the studio, I said, wow, it's getting kind of drippy outside. Like,
it is.
To see the snow melting off the roof of our WDAY studios.
Yeah, temperatures dropped to upper 20s, low 30s for most of us, maybe a couple lower 20s, but it got cold enough to stop the melting. But now right away in the morning, Fargo right now, we're just at 34 degrees.
That's crazy, 34 right now.
Going for upper 40s, pretty close to 50 degrees today for a lot of us. In the trees in Minnesota, but maybe it probably will hit 60 degrees today. But yeah, it's just spring. Spring is here. Spring has sprung.
We didn't even practice that.
We did not. Just Lydia's been saying it all morning. It was kind of fun to say.
Okay, well, that's important. Can we back up, though,
yeah.
too? Because you kind of broke down, which I thought was very interesting. You said this to us last week. You know, we've been talking for weeks and weeks leading up to this, even when we're talking about a blizzard, the flood outlook.
Yep.
But how you guys track the potential spring floods kind of changed this week.
Yeah, so we were doing probabilistic spring flood outlooks from the National Weather Service. Those came out 2 weeks ago from this past Thursday. Now we're switching to deterministic, which is the graph that everyone sees and the crest. And of course, after 1 weekend of melting, the river level is not going to change. And for the red, especially, we're not going to see the river actually change and start to get to the flood stages until probably the end of the month, because we have to wait for all the tributaries to the flow closer and closer to, of course, the red, flow into the red, and then the red starts getting angry then. It's not just the first 40s that it's going to start flooding. It won't be until probably the end of the month we're actually talking about significant flooding from the Red River, for spring flooding, I should say.
And then we'll need that stress ball.
Yeah, for sure. But we'll see how it goes. We're tracking a couple showers Wednesday, Thursday. Not looking like a big rainmaker. This rain actually might help break up the snow. Actually melts a little bit quicker.
Yeah, because you kind of were taking a closer look at the snow depth as well today because
yes.
We did some melting Friday, Saturday. Yesterday was gorgeous.
Yep.
The snow piles are getting smaller. They're still big, though.
Yeah, it's just compacting. So what it's doing right now is it's melting, but what's happening is all the melted snow, so the water, is just soaking farther and farther into the snowpack. So there's still a lot of moisture in the snow, and most of the moisture hasn't been released from the snow yet, and that will be...
That's interesting.
Right now, most of the snow is just compacting. You know, you see in some bare fields, there's a couple of little spots of black dirt. That snow is gone. But for the most part, it's just compacting right now because it's melting. And, of course, things melt, it gets compact. And then that last little layer will take a little bit longer to melt. But once that's gone, then we're actually, talking about getting rid of the snowpack. And also with that, trees, especially evergreen trees. You'll notice around the evergreen trees, snow will melt around them first. That's because darker colors from the trees attracts more of that sunlight, more of the sun's heat, and they stay warmer. So because of that, that's why I noticed that this weekend. I was driving around. It's like, oh, there's an evergreen tree, and look, there's no snow around it. It's kind of funny how that works. But
kind of this will be fun for the kids when you go driving. And what did you learn as you listen to Dillon? We should have kids listen to this podcast, and then they could.
What's the Facebook age? 13? Maybe they're listening on Spotify.
Could be. Well, there's no school for my kids. A lot of kids still have, the day off, or this would be their science lesson.
There you go.
Okay, and you kind of already touched on the forecast, which is again today. What's the high?
Upper 40s. I think our high officially is 46. Tomorrow, 50. Today we could probably be pretty close to 52, especially in town with the heat island. But out of town, where there's a lot more snow, temperatures will be in the 40s for sure. So,
good stuff.
Yeah.
All right, thank you for the update. Lots of good stuff. Okay, back to flooding and preparing. Today, the cities of Fargo and West Fargo, along with Cass County, will be getting together to update everyone on their flood preparations, what's going on right now. They're actually going to be holding a news conference today at 12:15 at Fargo City Hall. Of course, WDAY will have a crew there. So stay with us throughout the day. You can go to InForum.com to check for updates on what they say. Also join us for WDAY News throughout the day as well. Of course, we have one at 11, but this meeting is happening after that, so join us 4, 5, 6, 9, and 10 for updates. They're expected to tell us how many sandbags they think they're going to need for this potential spring flood. So some interesting new numbers expected to come out of this 12:15 news conference. And talking about, potential sandbagging, Sandbag Cass is set up, ready to go. They're going to actually be bringing some people through, giving them kind of a tour this afternoon, I think, as well. Of course, county, city leaders, I think media reporters are also going to be invited to check it out. It's opening tomorrow. They do still need volunteers, so I know they would love to see you. Starting tomorrow until April 19th, you can go to casscountynd.gov/volunteer. If you want more information or you want to figure out how you can sign up, see what time works for you, it's all in that one spot. So we're going to continue to really have team coverage. Our Storm Tracker team has kind of transitioned from, the big spring blizzard to kind of tracking what's happening with the melting. And of course, river levels haven't started moving, but they're going to continue watching that for you. So be sure to stay with WDAY for all of those flood potential updates. In other news this morning, we're working to learn how many people were displaced following an Easter fire in Moorhead. That fire happened just before 1 o'clock yesterday at the Scaff Apartments. Those are the ones right behind Planet Fitness. When firefighters arrived, there was smoke pouring out of a third-floor balcony. The tenants were home at the time. We're told they're going to be okay. The building, however, sustained significant smoke and water damage. So that goes back to how many people were displaced. We know a lot of people were allowed back in, but we're told some people were not. We're still working to find out how many and when they will be allowed to go back into their homes. So stay with WDAY. We'll continue tracking updates for you on that story. Moorhead police officers are also still asking for your help in finding a vehicle that hit a child. Police say around 8:30 on Friday night, a 12-year-old boy was hit by a vehicle near Highway 10 and 21st Street, which is near the high school. The driver, who police are only really describing as an adult woman, was driving a vehicle, a pickup, they said, similar to a Chevy Avalanche, but that vehicle left the scene after the accident. The boy was taken to the hospital, but is expected to be okay. In a related story, or similar story, not related but similar, very sad ending to this one, we now know the name of a man who is facing charges after he hit and killed a 6-year-old boy. This happened out in western North Dakota. The North Dakota Highway Patrol says the crash happened Saturday night near an apartment in Watford City. Officers say 19-year-old Julian Montoya was driving around a group of garages, some of those apartment complexes where there are a lot of garages in the parking lot. That's when he hit the child that was riding a bike. The boy was pronounced dead at the scene. If you tried calling 911 over the weekend or maybe even this morning in North Dakota, you may have had some problems. This is a story we're also tracking for you. People are still experiencing some connection issues. This is what was happening. Some calls were dropped. Other callers, when they called 911, they were told that all circuits were busy. State radio started getting these reports of problems yesterday afternoon. Not a good thing. However, dispatchers are telling WDAY, luckily they were still able to get location information and phone numbers from the people who were calling, even if they were disconnected. That way they could call them right back. So we're still working to get an update. If you find this is a problem for you right now or this morning, you're asked to call the state radio administrative line instead of 911. That number is 701-328-9921, 328-9921. And of course, we'll continue tracking this story for you and see when they get that connection issue fixed this morning. All right, we want to remind you, Hot Mic with Dom Izzo is coming up this morning from 9 to 11 on WDAY Extra, also on InForum.com. I'm guessing he's going to be talking about the Masters, about Tiger Woods, all things that happened over the weekend. I know it's been a couple days, probably heard about Hoagie and how his weekend ended as well, but lots of sports news to cover there. And another big local and national story as well. We're tracking this one for you. Minnesota lawmakers and advocates are meeting this morning to talk about how a Texas medication abortion ruling could affect people here. We talked a lot about this on First News this morning. It comes after federal judges issued conflicting rulings on the availability of a medication used in almost all medication abortions in the U.S. So you're going to continue to hear a lot about this. This was a ruling that happened late on Friday. A lot of questions over the weekend, and probably going to hear a lot more this morning, and we'll continue tracking that story for you. Remember, you can find all of these stories online at InForum.com, and right now is a great time to get your subscription to InForum.com. You can get 99 cents a month for your first 3 months. It's an all-access pass to InForum.com. Just go to InForum.com/subscribe to check it out. And remember to join us for our newscast starting again here at 11 o'clock this morning. And of course, I already mentioned, we start early in the afternoon, 4, 5, 6, 9, and 10. And we'll be back tomorrow morning from 5 to 7 for First News. Have a great day, everyone.